Important topics of chemical reaction and equations. What is oxidation? According to classical or earlier concept, oxidation is a process which involves the addition of oxygen or any electronegative element or the removal of hydrogen or any electropositive element. According to electronic concept, oxidation is defined as the process in which an atom or ion loses one or more electrons. Here is an example of oxidation reaction. What is reduction? According to classical or earlier concept, reduction is a process which involves the addition of hydrogen or any electropositive element or the removal of oxygen or any electronegative element. According to electronic concept, reduction is defined as the process in which an atom or ion gains one or more electrons. Here is an example of reduction reaction. What is corrosion? Is basically defined as a natural process that causes the transformation of pure metals into undesirable substances when they react with substances like water or air. This reaction causes damage and disintegration of the metal, starting from the portion of the metal exposed to the environment and spreading to the entire bulk of the metal. Corrosion is usually an undesirable phenomenon since it negatively affects the desirable properties of the metal. For example, iron is known to have good tensile strength and rigidity, especially alloyed with a few other elements. However, when subjected to rusting, iron objects become brittle, flaky, and structurally unsound. On the other hand, corrosion is a diffusion of controlled process, and that it mostly occurs on exposed surfaces. Therefore, in some cases, attempts are made to reduce the activity of the exposed surface and increase a material's corrosion resistance. Processes such as passivation and chromat conversion. Alternatively, corrosion can be classified as an electrochemical process since it usually involves redox reactions between the metal and certain atmospheric agents such as water, oxygen, sulfur dioxide, etc. Factors affecting corrosion. 1. Exposure of the metals to air-containing gases like aqua, saltwater, sulfur, etc. 2. Exposure of metals to moisture, especially salt water, which increases the rate of corrosion. 3. Presence of impurities like salt lead, nacala. 4. Temperature and increase in temperature increases corrosion. 5. Nature of the first layer of oxide formed, as some oxides like ultramafic forms an insoluble protecting layer that can prevent further corrosion. Others like rust easily crumble and expose the rest of the metal. 6. Presence of acid in the atmosphere. Acids can easily accelerate the process of corrosion. Types of corrosion. Some of the corrosion types include crevice corrosion. Whenever there is a difference in ionic concentration between any two local areas of a metal, a localized form of corrosion known as crevice corrosion can occur. In a simple instance, this form of corrosion mostly occurs in confined spaces or crevices. Examples of areas where crevice corrosion can occur are gaskets, the undersurface of washers, and bolt heads. All grades of aluminum alloys and stainless steels also undergo crevice corrosion. This is mainly because of the formation of a differential aeration cell that leads to the formation of corrosion inside the crevices. Stress corrosion cracking. Stress corrosion cracking can be abbreviated to SCAO and refers to the cracking of the metal as a result of the corrosive environment and the tensile stress placed on the metal. It often occurs at high temperatures. Example of stress corrosion cracking of austenitic stainless steel in chloride solution. Intragranular corrosion. Intragranular corrosion occurs due to the presence of impurities in the grain boundaries that separate the grain formed during the solidification of the metal alloy. It can also occur via the depletion or enrichment of the alloy at these grain boundaries. Example: aluminum-based alloys are affected by each. Galvanic corrosion. When there exists an electric contact between two metals that are electrochemically dissimilar and are in an electrolytic environment, galvanic corrosion can arise. It refers to the degradation of one of these metals at a joint or at a junction. A good example of this type of corrosion would be the degradation that occurs when copper, in a saltwater environment, comes in contact with steel. Example: when aluminum and carbon steel are connected and immersed in seawater, aluminum corrodes faster and steel is protected. Uniform corrosion. This is considered the most common form of corrosion wherein an attack on the surface of the metal is executed by the atmosphere. The extent of the corrosion is easily discernible. This type of corrosion has a relatively low impact on the performance of the material. Example: a piece of zinc and steel immersed in diluted sulfuric acid would usually dissolve over its entire surface at a constant rate. Effects. Corrosion can have a varying degree of effect on a lot of things. As such, it mainly causes waste of natural resources. Additionally, it can further cause hazardous situations such as building structures becoming weak and unstable, accidents caused by corroded parts, as well as other unwanted failures such as cracked pipelines, bridge collapse, and transport vehicle crashes or other catastrophes. It is therefore important to check and prevent corrosion at all costs. Prevention of corrosion. Preventing corrosion is of utmost importance in order to avoid huge losses. The majority of the structures that we see in use are made out of metals. This includes bridges, automobiles, machinery, household goods like window grills, doors, railway lines, etc. While this is a concerning issue, several treatments are used to slow or prevent corrosion damage to metallic objects. This is especially done to those materials that are frequently exposed to the weather, salt water, acids, or other hostile environments. Some of the popular methods to prevent corrosion include electroplating, galvanization, anodization, passivation, biofilm coatings, anti-corrosion protective coatings, painting and greasing, use of corrosion inhibitor or drying agents, periodic cleaning of metal surface.
I've been dreaming on in my head like I've seen it. A life worth living is a life